I'm going to invite Reverend Rick McCollum up to share our message today of the joy of connection. Welcome, Reverend Rick. And for staff minister of connection, celebration and connection.
Sounds good.
It's all yours.
Thank you. Happy post-Thanksgiving. I'll get my greeting in there as well. Talking about the joy of connection, one thing occurred to me during meditation this morning. I learned a song years and years ago, and it was something about, I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart, down in my heart, down in my heart. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart to stay. Well, it occurs to me, it doesn't just stay in your heart, because joy is kind of like love. You can't give it all away, and you can't keep it all, because it has to flow. That law of circulation, I think that's something we talk about here a lot, isn't it? So we circulate joy in our lives. How great is that? And is that something that you consciously do? Circulate joy in your life? I hope so, because your life will be much more meaningful if you can celebrate and share that joy. Have any of you ever heard of Oprah Winfrey? Oprah had a quote that says, "As social beings, which we all are, we need to feel deeply connected with others for us to thrive. So that means spending time with your loved ones, friends, and colleagues. We co-create communities that open us up and fill our lives with purpose. In communities, we're able to express ourselves, to serve others, and enjoy the rewards of our generosity and sharing. We're seeking that spirit-to-spirit connection." That's one of the things I learned in the years of the Oprah show. That's the number one common denominator of all human experience. We all want to know that we are seen, we are heard, and that opens the door for us to share our vulnerabilities, to share our unique thoughts, our talents, and our gifts. She goes on to talk about Deepak Chopra and says Deepak delves into a truth that I believe we all know intuitively, that connection in its many forms is essential for our overall well-being. So if we're going to have a wonderful, healthy, enjoyable, joyous life, we have to connect with others. We create that connection, and that brings us joy. And as Aggie talked about this morning in her reading, it's a decision that we make. How are we going to decide to live our lives? Will we decide to live in joy? Will we share that from our heart, knowing that as we give away our joy, more is going to flow to us? Like love, as we give away love, more flows to us. We can't outgive God. We can never outgive Spirit. A cardiologist that has been studying his patients for a number of years said that loneliness is the new tobacco. So I'm sure most of you have heard about dangers of smoking and all the things that smoking does negative to a person. They say loneliness is the new tobacco. Researchers also have shown that a lack of social connection is really a detriment to our health more than obesity, smoking, and high blood pressure. As a nurse, that was pretty substantial to me to hear. But when we think about society and what we're doing, have you been to a restaurant lately and looked around and saw all the people on their cell phones? We used to go out to restaurants and sit and talk with one another, to share with people. And now we're all, well, we're not all, because I can't text like that. I did find out that young people text with 2 fingers, old people text with 1 finger. So I guess I'm an old person because I text with 1 finger. But I'm amazed. Tom and I went out for a special dinner one night, and we were at a very nice restaurant, and there was a table of like 6 younger people there, and they were all 6 on their cell phones. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're in the middle of this very nice restaurant, and they're sitting there on their cell phones, not paying any attention to the wait staff, what they're eating, what they're drinking, zoned out. That creates that social isolation. Now, some people will say, oh, well, we connect on social media. But we long for the human touch. We long to be able to look into one another's eyes and have that connection. Preparing for this talk, I looked on YouTube for connection. And I found all these experiments that people have done where they had strangers come up and stare into somebody's eye for a minute. They timed them. They give them 1 minute to stare into one another's eyes. And for some people, it was really hard for them to do that. And then they interviewed them afterwards about how they felt. And they all felt a deep sense of connection with one another. Some, it was a little paranoid connection. Why did he wink at me? Did he really wink? But it was very interesting. So we're all seeking that connection, but sometimes we live our lives very disconnected, and that can cause health problems. So let's flip that around, because that's what we do here, right? We change our thinking so that we can change our life. Stephen Cole is a researcher. And in his research that he's done, he's found that social connections, when we connect with people, we tend to have stronger immune systems. So we fight off disease. We recover from disease much quicker here. There's less anxiety and depression. How great is that? And fewer colds and flu. Well, I can vote for that one. I don't like being sick. Some people do enjoy being sick because they get more attention from somebody. I had that recently. I was sick, really sick, and I was traveling for work. I was in a hotel, so I called home to tell Tom how bad I felt, thinking I would get sympathy. It didn't work because he was sicker than I was when I called home. And I'll spare you the details, but let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. And I thought, I'm not going to get any sympathy here. I thought this was interesting. Making social connections actually makes you a kinder person. Isn't that nice? I've heard people say, when they're in conversations with others, do you want to be right or do you want to be kind? Because for some people, the need to be right is so great that they don't care who they upset, who they alienate. And so it gives me pause to think, how am I being in the world? Am I being kind to people? Or is it just about being right? See, we want you to improve your life. So we think about these things. Also, social connections improve your self-esteem. If you're connected with people, you realize that your life has worth and their life has worth, because we're all a reflection of one another. I have a reading from the Science of Mind textbook, page 388. Ernest, this is a chapter on immortality. And Ernest says, with all these facts confronting us, we should learn to trust life. There is no power in the universe which wishes anyone ill. Life is good, and God is good. Why not accept this and begin to live? No man need prepare to meet his God. He is meeting him every day, in each hour of the day. He meets him in the rising sun, in the flowing stream, in the budding rose, in the joy of friendship and love. And he meets him in the silence of his own soul. I like that because it reminds me that I find joy when I connect within myself, when I connect with Spirit, with God, with the divine, and when I connect with other people. And so that's important for me because that helps me express who I am and be centered to know that I am a divine being. And I know that for each one of you. You are divine beings, created in the likeness and image of God. And what that means is God is ever loving. God is ever creating. And God is love. And that is you. If we choose to be and pull forth those qualities for your life. And I encourage you to do that because it makes your life so much better. Thinking about how we connect with people, I started coming up with a list of ways that we connect. And you know, some of these are conscious connections, and some are not conscious connections. We're thrown into these groups. We don't really intend to get there. Work groups, you get hired for a new job, and all of a sudden, whoops, here's a connection. You didn't choose to be with these people at work, but now you are. So how are you going to react with them? How about school? You're going to school to get an education. And whether you're a child going to elementary school or you're a young adult going to college or an older adult going to college, all of a sudden you've got colleagues here that are in school with you. And so people relate to that. Sports fans, will come up and, I'm, whatever, a Bucks fan, or I had on a Cardinal shirt coming home from our Thanksgiving holiday on the plane, and the stewardess on the plane didn't see it as a Louisville Cardinal college team. She saw it as an Arizona Cardinal. She said, oh, Cardinals are playing the Falcons. I'm going to the game. I'm for the Falcons. And I thought, good for you. Thanks for sharing. I could be kind, or I can say, this isn't an Arizona Cardinal. Why would I do that? So I could encourage her. There's other kinds of groups that we get thrown into. How many people have an iPhone? Who uses Android? Oh, let's connect and talk about how we can do this. It's like, whoever saw that group coming? Hobbies are another thing that people share when they have certain hobbies. Quilting, decoupaging, that used to be a big thing. Show my age there, huh? Knitting, crocheting, there's all kinds of things. Restoring classic cars. So there's lots of different hobbies that people will connect with because then they want to share their techniques or what they found or how they're doing this with others. So that's important, connections we make. Health conditions. My daughter-in-law has some health conditions, and so she connects with all these people that have the same condition she does. And they commiserate over what's going on. I don't think it's a real positive group, but it does give her a sense of connection. Tom went through a cancer journey, and so he's thrust into that group of cancer survivors, which I'm sure other people are too. It's like, well, I didn't choose to be in that group. Well, maybe I did survive, but it wasn't something you were expecting. So some health conditions throw you into groups that you connect with other people on. Survivor support groups, and 12-step recovery groups. We may choose to be in recovery, but we didn't realize that we were becoming part of this group. And all of a sudden, that's very important in our lives. So there are choices we make to connect with people consciously, and some are unconscious. So I invite you to make a conscious choice to connect here at CSL Palm Beaches, to be part of this spiritual community, and to show up with all the love and joy that you have within to share with others, to make connections that are deep, to make connections that are meaningful, not just for you, but for all those other people around you. It's a giving and a taking, and it's very important for us. So how do we connect? How can we do this when we're making conscious connections? One thing is we can connect with ourselves by listening to our body. Sit down long enough to connect, to feel. As a nurse, I encourage people when they're taking medication to listen to their body, because sometimes that medicine's not working for them and they need to go another route. Some people don't need medication, they just need to get centered and be still, and they can heal themselves. And so listen, be aware, awake, and alert to your body and what you need. You have all of the information, all of the wisdom of the universe within you. You can tap into that, but we have to take time to listen. Listen for that still small voice, and it will guide us. We can connect with spirit, and that's the voice we're talking about through meditation, through prayer, spiritual mind treatment that we do here, through music. Music is a big way that I connect and feed myself and connect with my source. Spiritual readings. The books that Aggie shares from each week are wonderful ways to connect with source, because they draw us to something higher. They bring about a better life. And then connecting with others. And this is a give and a take. The law of circulation. You must circulate in order for this to be activated in your life. If you don't believe me, try to hold your breath for the rest of your life. You won't be able to do it for very long, and all of a sudden, automatically, you'll start breathing again. Hopefully. Even if you pass out. Well, when you pass out, you'll start breathing again.
That's what the pediatrician told me about my child.
Yes.
Let her go.
They can throw those temper tantrums, but guess what? They are made in the image and likeness of God, and God is about life, and we are eternal. And so that fullness can come to us. And that takes over when that child holds their breath till they pass out. Then nature takes over, spirit takes over, and they start breathing again. Our bodies are always trying to heal themselves. Yes, Dawn. Our bodies are always trying to heal themselves. Sometimes they need a little help from us, but they're always working to heal. Be present with people. So I invite you here to be connected with CSL Palm Beaches, to be giving and receiving from others as you do, but to make it a conscious giving and receiving. You do that by listening to people, by sharing with one another. We have at the end of our service reflection connection back in the corner. Get together, listen to other people, talk with them, share your thoughts, and grow together. Be connected. That's a way we connect heart to heart, spirit to spirit. Active listening. It's not about just what we can say, but it's what we can listen to and validate for people. When we listen actively, it means we're really listening to them. We're not worried about how we're going to respond right now. Let me hear your whole thought, and then give me a chance to think about how I want to respond. It's a deep, deep connection there. I have a story I want to share with you about connection. And this is called The Story of Stone Soup. Many, many years ago, in a faraway place, I think is how this should start, a kindly old stranger was walking through the land when he came upon a village. As he entered the village, the villagers moved toward their homes and started locking their doors and windows. The stranger smiled and asked, "Why are you all so frightened?" "I'm a simple traveler looking for a soft place to stay for the night and a warm place for a meal." "There's not a bite to eat in the whole province," someone told him. "We are weak and our children are starving. Better keep on moving." "Oh, I have everything I need," he said. "In fact, I was thinking of making some stone soup to share with all of you." He pulled an iron cauldron from his cloak. Kind of reminds me of Harry Potter movie. He filled it with water and began to build a fire under it. Then with great ceremony, he withdrew an ordinary-looking stone from a silken bag, and he dropped the stone into the water. By now, hearing rumors of food, most of the villagers had come out of their homes and started watching, or were watching from their windows. As the stranger sniffed the broth, he licked his lips in anticipation. "I do like a tasty stone soup," he said. Now, of course, stone soup with cabbage, that's hard to beat. Soon a villager approached hesitantly, holding a small head of cabbage. He added it to the pot. "Oh, wonderful, wonderful," cried the stranger. "You know, I once had stone soup with cabbage and a bit of salt beef as well. It was fit for a king." The village butcher went back to his shop and pulled a piece of salt beef and brought it forward and entered into the pot. And so it went, through potatoes and onions and carrots and mushrooms and so on, until there was a delicious meal for everyone to share, the stone soup. The village elder offered the stranger a great deal of money for the stone, but he refused to sell it and traveled on the next day. As he left, the stranger came upon a group of children from the village. He went up to the youngest child. He handed him the silken bag with the stone. And he whispered to the group, "It was not the stone, but the villagers that performed the magic last night." What kind of magic do you perform in your life? Do you connect with people and pull them in? Or do you retreat to your house and lock the doors and windows? Physically or emotionally? How do we connect with people? Are we willing to make stone soup? I have a friend that lives in Sarasota, and every year for Thanksgiving, she has a stone soup gathering. And she has people bring crock pots full of soup. I think it would be fun to have people bring all the ingredients and just have the pot with the stone. Of course, in my family, they'd probably say, if you get the stone in your bowl, you have to do dishes. So it's a cycle of giving and receiving. And when we're willing to share with others, we're going to find that we also get back a delicious soup. How are you living your life? Are you encouraging others? Are you taking opportunities for service? Those are important. It improves your life. So I invite you again, be connected here with CSL Palm Beaches. Find ways to connect with one another before the service, after the service. You might even find somebody that wants to have dinner with you during the week. Maybe taking a class. Connect with people in classes, in workshops. We have practitioners that will pray with you after service. That's another way to connect. We have the reflection connection to share what has gone on and share our thoughts and receive others' thoughts. It's all ways to connect with people, to make your life more meaningful, to create that stone soup that's important. You might think, well, what can I do? I'm only one person. And do I really relate to these people? So another thing is to look through someone else's eyes. Have you heard the phrase, don't judge until you walk a mile in my shoes? What's somebody else's perspective? can you see with new eyes? And that's important for me, being on a spiritual journey, is to be able to look with new eyes, to see things differently. Nishama just returned from her trip. Compassionate listening. I know she saw with new eyes. I know her life is changed forever because of what she experienced. She went to help others. They're a reflection of her, and I'm sure she received as much, if not more, back from what she gave. Be kind. Remember, social connection makes us kind. So be kind to everyone. Connect with people and know that this is a place that you can receive that connection. If you have been impacted by people here in this room, by the programs, by the talks, by the music, by the prayers of this center, don't keep it to yourself. I invite you to share with others. There are people that live within a certain mile radius of this center. I'm sure there are people in Port St. Lucie, for our group there, that need to hear this encouragement, that need to hear this teaching. And so share, not to force people to come, but to help them create a better life for themselves. And if you pray in earnest that Spirit would bring people to you, it's not about trying to save their souls. It's about helping people make better connections and improve their life. I have a final story that I'd like to share with you to help you see that it's important to see with someone else's eyes. It's the story of the mouse in the house by the unknown, famous author, Unknown. A mouse looked through the crack in the wall to see the farmer and his wife open a package. What food might this container have? The mouse wondered. He was devastated when he discovered it was a mousetrap. Retreating to the farmyard, the mouse proclaimed the warning, "There's a mousetrap in the house! There's a mousetrap in the house!" The chicken clucked and scratched and raised her head and said, "Mr. Mouse, I can tell you this is a grave concern to you, but it's of no consequence to me. I cannot be bothered by it." The mouse turned to the pig and told him, "There's a mousetrap in the house! There's a mousetrap in the house!" The pig sympathized, but said, "I am so sorry, Mr. Mouse, but there's nothing I can do but pray. Be assured you are in my prayers." The mouse turned to the cow and said, "There's a mousetrap in the house! There's a mousetrap in the house!" The cow said, "Wow, Mr. Mouse, I'm sorry for you, but it's no skin off my nose." So the mouse returned to the house, head down and dejected, to face the farmer's mousetrap alone. Have you seen those people in your life? That very night, a sound was heard throughout the house, the sound of a mousetrap catching its prey. The farmer's wife rushed to see what was caught. In the darkness, she did not see that it was a venomous snake, whose tail the trap had caught. The snake bit the farmer's wife. The farmer rushed her to the hospital, and she returned home later with a fever. Everyone knows you treat a fever with fresh chicken soup. So the farmer took the hatchet to the farmyard, and the soup's main ingredient was retrieved. But his wife's sickness continued, so friends and neighbors came to sit with her around the clock. To feed them, the farmer butchered the pig. The farmer's wife did not get well, and she died. So many people came for her funeral. The farmer had the cow slaughtered to provide enough meat for all of them to eat. The mouse looked upon all this from the crack in the wall with great sadness. So the next time you hear someone is facing a problem and think it doesn't concern you, remember remember the mouse in the house. We may think that what somebody's sharing is not really important or will affect us, but we are all a reflection of one another. And we can connect on those very deep levels. We can connect with support. I offer you a closing affirmation that you can take with you throughout this week. I cherish every connection I make. I cherish every connection I make because they are important. They're life-giving, and your life will be filled with joy. Namaste.
For my life, thank you for my life, Spirit, thank you for my life, my beautiful, my beautiful, my beautiful life, my beautiful, my beautiful, my beautiful life. Thank you for our world, Spirit, thank you for our world, thank you for our world, Spirit, thank you for our world, our wonderful, our wonderful, our wonderful world, our wonderful, our wonderful, our wonderful world.
And we do give thanks for the beauty and the wonder and the joy and the magnificence of it all. And I know that as we go out from here, we take that blessing with us wherever we go. We recognize that we do know how to listen. We do know how to connect. We do know how to share. We do know how to be heard. And we love showing up as those authentic, whole, magnificent beings. And together we co-create that world that is a joy to experience for everyone in it. So thank you, and God bless. Have a great day. Thank you for coming. There it is.
All those goats.
Good stories are never bad.
Whatever you want to do. I think about it.
I think we should.
Well, yeah, no problem. I'm good. Okay. Good to see you again. Take care. Great. All right.
Bye-bye.
Nice talk, Rick.
Really, yeah. I thought so too.
Gives you something to think about. You may not think they fit to.
The neat part of this is more. You want lunch or you want the car? This wonderful place in the south.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Glad you enjoyed it. Appreciate you.
I'm by myself all the time. Don't want to be by myself. It'd be easy for me to say.
When you know where her own words fit.
Oh, your house. No, you can't lose that. That's all right.
They can sell them in Texas at the Three Fingers, like they're gonna do what?
Everybody's taxes.
Really? You want me to go with you?
Where do you go?
The new one? You're right, you're closer to that. I'm so happy. My hand is very important. Oh, I love it. He said it, he did it in me, W, I didn't tell him. So I didn't have any money. I just heard it. We should be celebrating my mother. She did the whole, she did the whole thing. Why? Because we just you didn't do it because you played everything. And now so anyway, did she leave? She's there.
Right, but you're not pretty good. She had it. So you don't see. Didn't have to stir it. Yeah. That's right.
That's another option.
No, if you live in a pet-free building, we can't even have a goldfish in our building. Wow. I'm interested in dogs, but you know.
Did you ever know Jackie let you before she moved up to Port St. Lucie? Okay. So she's in Port St. Lucie.
I can't imagine why
That's how I believe it. Where'd you go?
We gotta change it up. Makes us happy. I liked it, but it was, I was sort of with
How are you?
So our executive, you know, family from hell.
Turkey to me was better than
Yeah, kind of, sort of, two of them are in Las Vegas. And then I was gonna go and all Jennifer wanted was the pie. And so they all, I got the longer the day went on. And so I said, okay, I'm not cooking. And went to Cracker Barrel and it was really lousy this year.
Was it?
Really
I was
lousy.
there when you was very good.
Yeah, not this year.
Okay, it depends on the approach. I didn't go to this.
I know, and
It was terrible. First day when it started,
It was, and I
know.
when everybody left,
We do.
thank you God, I'm still breathing. So when